Hey, what's happening everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and today I wanted to give you a few tips on how you can elevate your film sets looking like this on a budget. Now, if you're a filmmaker looking to up the game on the production value of your film sets, or you're looking to gain a little bit of knowledge on how you could do that on a budget, or you're just looking into wanting to elevate your YouTube channel, these are just a few tips that will hopefully help you in making those decisions and help you along your journey as well. So for those of you that watch my channel a lot, you notice that I'm not usually in this spot. I'm usually in this room when I'm filming my talking head portions of the videos. However, we are constantly transforming rooms such as the one we're about to in this video for a lot of our film sets, documentary work, interviews, and a lot of client work as well. So let's get started. The first tip I have for you is to just find a spot. Find a good spot where you'd have plenty of room for your lighting setup, your camera setup, and maybe some scrim. So if you're in a home studio, a small apartment, or anything like that, you're gonna wanna get maximum depth in the shot. So I recommend if you're in a small space to film towards the corner. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna open up the depth of field a little bit more. You're gonna get a really great shallow depth of field look where everything in the background is nice and buttery, blurry, and your subject is sharp. Tip number 2, use window light if you can. Window light is gonna be your best friend in this kind of budget-friendly setup. Daylight is a really great source of video lighting, and if you diffuse it, you can get a really soft, nice roll off of your shadows and your highlights. The best thing you could do is find a corner of your room that has a big window that you can cover with a lot of scrim. I use 100% muslin. This gives a really warm look and diffuses the light from the sun. Window light is probably gonna be the best lighting source that you can get when it comes to video lighting, and it's also free. However, if you are in a space with limited windows, or you're in a part of your office that doesn't have any windows, or you just want to control the lighting that you have in your shot, and you also really like that soft window light look, there is a way that you can emulate window light and it look amazing. This is something that we're currently doing. We're about to film a TV commercial here pretty soon where we want the subject to look like they're in a living room with lots of window light, but we want to be able to control that light, so we're gonna fake it. Either one of these options will work, and both look great. And the coolest part about it is you could do them both on a budget. A while ago, I came up with 3 simple lighting setups that you could do using only one light. But we're gonna be using a lot of those techniques in this tutorial today as well. If you wanna check out that video, I'll leave a link in the description below. This is what we're gonna do today in this video. Although the spot that I picked behind me in that corner of the studio, we don't have any windows, so we're gonna emulate fake window light with one of our lighting setups. If you really wanted to invest in your lighting setup and get a really nice soft look, you could use the Aperture 120D that's right behind me. And this is a really great look. You could use this with the softbox behind the scrim and get a really, really nice soft window light. However, we're gonna be doing this on a budget. So I'm gonna take our simple lighting setup that I mentioned in the lighting video, and we're gonna use the Amaran 60X. This light goes on Amazon for about $200, and it's a very nice setup. And if you add a modifier to this, you can get a really soft light for your window light. Okay, so I'm already liking this a lot. This is already looking like a window light setup from the camera as I'm looking in. This feels like it's real window light, and I'm really loving the soft look that it gives off. Window light, if it's diffused, can be some of the best lighting that you can get. And as you can see, you could do it on a budget. My C-stand is a little bit pricey, but you can buy what's called a tripod lighting stand, and those are much cheaper. You can get them from about $50 to $80 and set this light up because it's so small on top of one of those. However, we're gonna take it down even further, and we're gonna use this tube light that I have. It's called the Ambit Full A2. I don't know, I got it on Amazon for about 50 bucks, and this thing is pretty bright, and it's also bicolor. So we're gonna try this bad boy out and see if this works. Okay, so here is the Ambit Full. I had to get it pretty cranked up to get it bright enough, and also put it almost right next to the scrim to get it bright enough to look a little more like window light. Again, the least expensive option is gonna be your sunlight coming through the window with your scrim taped onto the wall. But if you're in a room where you don't have any windows or limited on windows, this is not a bad way to go. The Ambit Full is about 50 bucks. The scrim is about $10 for a yard. So not a bad option. Here's a side-by-side with the tube light versus a full lighting setup. Both are pretty inexpensive and both would work. You're just gonna get much softer lighting with a full lighting and softbox setup. If you do need to emulate your window light like I am here in this video, then you're gonna wanna set your lights to 5600 Kelvin. 5600 is daylight, and that if you can match that with your camera settings, you can really get a nice window light look. Now that you have all of your lighting set up, the next thing to think through is an interesting background. And you can go a really simplistic route like I did in my one light video, where I just had the black background, textured background with the one key light. That's a pretty timeless look and a look that I actually really enjoy. But if you wanted a little bit more depth or you wanted a specific look, then you're gonna want a little more to your scene. I'm going for more of a living room, late afternoon, early morning kind of look. A little more relaxed and a little more warm. I'd also recommend choosing a spot that already has some character to it. That way you don't have to change too much for your background to make your shot look more interesting. So here we are, round 2. Okay, so I'm back. Day 2 here in the studio. I had to go home a little bit early yesterday, but now I'm back here in the studio day 2 to get this job done. Just so you know, this is a really easy, really simple setup. If I were to calculate it all into, you know, a time frame, it would probably be a few hours tops. But once you have this all set up, it's done and you don't have to worry about it again. So last night I was looking at the footage and I noticed that it was a bit warm, so I'm gonna try and use one of these dimmers that I have to minimize the light that's coming from the practical. So hopefully that works. Okay, so let's see what this image is looking like now. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I think this is much better than what I got last night. Last night it was very, very warm. Everything had warm tones to it and there wasn't any kind of color contrast. And I think that we got a really great look just by bringing down this practical light behind me, brought in some cooler tones, while this light over here through the scrim is providing some warmth. I think it's a much more natural look, and to me it looks like window light. I think this is a really, really great setup for anybody who's starting out or anybody who is just looking to spice up their videos. You probably noticed that this shot is also a bit tight. You could also go a little bit further back, and if you're shooting in 4K, you could have a full body shot and also punch in and get a secondary shot. Okay, so I'm here at my home office again and just wanted to shed a little bit more light on how you could do this on a budget. I broke this down into 3 tiers. The first is the best setup that you can get, the cream of the crop, the ultimate setup in terms of all the gear that I used in this video. The next one would be the least expensive option, and this is just paring it down completely 100% to the bare bones and still get a great looking setup. And finally, the last one will be the best bang for your buck, anything and everything that you can get at the best dollar amount. So let's start with the best setup. For that, I have the C-stand at $215, the Amarin 60X at $199, the Aperture Light Dome Mini for $129, and then some scrim, a yard of it for $10, and $0 for the background, because all the stuff in the background that you saw, the plant, the pictures, the couch, all of the stuff that you saw there were things that I already had in the studio. So I spent no money on the background decorations. That's one thing I want to recommend, is just shop your home or your studio or your office for your background setting. You'll be surprised what you can pull together and what looks great in the frame. So for all of this, it's going to be $553, which is really good for a setup like this. If you compare it to the lantern and 120D setup that I showed you earlier in the video for the least expensive option, and I've done this one many times, you could use the tripod lighting stand for $50, the Ambit Full A2 tube light for $55.99, and a yard of scrim for $10. This whole entire setup costs $115. If you were to take the lighting out of it completely and only use window light, you're looking at $10 just for the scrim. That's incredible. Okay, so now if you're looking for the most bang for your buck, here's how you can utilize the best pieces at the best price. Okay, so for this tier, you're looking at the tripod stand for $50, the Amaran 60X for $199, the Light Dome Mini for $129, and the scrim for $10 for the yard. You're looking at about $388 US. Again, not a bad price in comparison to some of the lighting setups that are out there, all of the gear that I have in my studio. video I've gained over the years. And in the beginning, I started out with very little, with nothing but window light. By the way, I'm using window light in this portion of the video, and used nothing but window light for the longest time because I couldn't afford anything. You really can get a lot out of something as minimal as this. So be encouraged and go out and make your film. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you learned something or you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Also, if you're wondering about what's going on behind me here, we're starting a podcast, but more on that later. All right, peace.